Welcome back everyone to Dawn of War Central. Today we are diving into a massive wave of new information from a long-form interview with Jan Theysen, creative director and studio head at King Art Games. The interview was hosted by GameStar Talk and Maurice Weber on YouTube, and it delivered some of the most substantial updates that we've seen yet. Let's begin with some updates to gameplay mechanics. Specifically, we'll take a look at the commanders. Each faction features its own pair of commanders, and they define not only your battlefield tactics, but also the tone of each faction's campaign. For the Blood Ravens, Cyrus returns as a stealth-orientated sniper who relies on cloaking, precision, and mobility, while Jonah brings devastating psychic abilities to the field. The Dark Angels, well, they take a very different approach. Commander Asteran, clad in massive Terminator armor, plays the role of a walking fortress who leads elite units into the thick of battle, while Chaplain Azrael, mounted on a bike, dashes across the map, inspiring and empowering units wherever the front line shifts. The Necrons continue this diversity with a Chronomancer who manipulates time and the battlefield flow. Alongside him, for the Necrons, we have the Destroyer Lord who charges headfirst into combat with reckless ferocity. And the Adeptus Mechanicus, well, they round things out with the Techno-Archaeologist Potentia Delta 9, a character rooted in rediscovering lost relics and turning ancient technology into tactical advantages. These commanders don't just add flavor, they shape how each campaign mission plays and how you'll build your army from the ground up. Now, before we cover some further very important updates about the Necrons in Dawn of War 4, if you are enjoying the content on the channel so far, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any upcoming Dawn of War 4 news. This channel has been growing pretty fast, and I genuinely appreciate every single bit of support. Your comments, your likes, and the shares are what keep these videos coming. But with that said and done, let's get back to the updates. Since we are already on the subject of faction identity, it's a perfect moment to talk about one of the most noticeable improvements over previous games. The Necrons, well, they finally have a voice. In Dark Crusade, their near silence made them feel flat compared to the other factions that often had loud personalities. In Dawn of War 4, that will no longer be the case. Whilst basic warriors still communicate through eerie silence, elite units and key characters will now speak, giving them the depth that modern Warhammer lore expects. A synthetic Canoptek-style system voice also handles general battlefield announcements, creating an alien but expressive presence that fits perfectly into the grim dark future. And while personality of course matters, tactical clarity potentially matters more. Which brings us now to the game's cover system. Dawn of War 4 currently uses fixed objects in the environment, garrisonable structures, and faction-created defenses such as Orc barricades and Mechanicus shields. Dynamic cover created from wreckage is not implemented at this stage, largely because it introduces major complications in readability and balance, especially of course in the more large-scale RTS genre. However, the developers are addressing one of the most common complaints from early testers. Squads containing a commander will now still be able to take cover, losing access to defensive positions simply because Cyrus or another leader joined the squad. Well, it felt wrong, and that feedback clearly resonated with the team. Speaking of features that resonate, one of the most exciting confirmations is the return of the Last Stand game mode. Yes, it's back, and yes, it will be available at launch. Early testers absolutely loved it, ranking it among the most enjoyable parts of the alpha. The Last Stand game mode maintains its unique blend of survival chaos and tactical precision, but this time it stays firmly rooted in RTS structure. You'll control a commander alongside a few customizable units, carry progression across multiple sessions, and make constant micro decisions as waves crash in. It's fast, intense, and a perfect complement to the sprawling full-scale battles that are found elsewhere in the game. Of course, none of these decisions were made in isolation. King Art Games conducted an extensive closed alpha, gathering player feedback through recorded gameplay sessions, surveys, and structured analysis. One major insight was that players absolutely loved the unit upgrade system, expanding squads, equipping new weapons, and nurturing veteran units tapped directly into what made classic Dawn of War so very special. However, the alpha also revealed that managing upgrades across dozens of squads, especially for factions like Orcs, could get overwhelming. In response, King Art Games is working on ways to streamline the process, making upgrades faster and more intuitive without losing the customization depth that defines the series. Now that we've covered some of the mechanics which is at the core of gameplay, let's widen the lens and look at the larger structure of the game. Dawn of War 4, which most of you probably will know by now, will launch with 4 major factions: the Orcs, Adeptus Mechanicus, Necrons, and the Space Marines. The Space Marines themselves are split into 2 chapters: the Blood Ravens and the Dark Angels, each with their own commanders and unique campaign missions. This leads naturally into the campaign design itself, which offers a much more flexible and replayable structure than previous games. Each faction gets a full campaign, complete with optional missions and also branching narrative choices. If you are playing the Orcs, you'll choose early on which war boss to follow, and that decision can shape everything that follows. For the Space Marines, the choice is mission by mission: continue through the Blood Ravens' eyes or the Dark Angels. Each perspective pushes the overarching plot forward from a different angle, and players can switch viewpoints as they go. The Dark Angels fight as a slow, unstoppable war machine, while the Blood Ravens specialize in covert operations and precision strikes. Between them, you get both brute strength and cunning finesse. Now, many fans were stunned to see the Primarch Lion L. Johnson appear in the latest trailer. Jan Theysen clarified that the Lion is campaign only. Never part of the multiplayer, he serves the narrative, not competitive balance. The focus on Dark Angels, by the way, was no accident, of course. Dawn of War 4 returns to Cronus, the iconic setting of Dark Crusade. In current lore, Cronus sits within the Segmentum Nihilus, where the Dark Angels and the Lion are heavily involved. Games Workshop suggested adding a second Marine chapter, and once the possibility of including the Lion emerged, everything aligned: the setting, the lore, and the ongoing narrative of Warhammer 40k. Zooming out even further, Jan Theysen also discussed the health of the RTS genre and also King Art Games' place within it. Dawn of War 4 is roughly twice the size of Iron Harvest, with more than 70 campaign missions and a significantly larger overall scope. Despite the scale, the team doesn't need AAA blockbuster numbers to call it a success. The studio has around 105 internal developers, supported by external partners, and is developing a second unannounced project alongside Dawn of War 4. As for DLC and expansions, Jan Theysen couldn't confirm the specifics, but he did note that wishlist numbers matter. If you want Chaos, Tyranids, Eldar, or anyone else added later, adding Dawn of War 4 to your Steam wishlist truly helps shape publisher decisions. He wrapped up by expressing real gratitude for the community's overwhelmingly positive response, and whilst the Dawn of War legacy comes with high expectations, the team is determined not to squander the trust that they've been given. Speaking of which, I trust that you guys will come up with some cool answers, because I'd love to hear your thoughts about the following questions. What do you guys think about the new updates on the commanders and how each faction will play with them? Do you prefer the classic Dawn of War cover system, or should there be dynamic cover in Dawn of War 4? And with the Last Stand officially coming back, which commander are you taking into your first run? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I have to say, one of the best parts of making these videos is actually reading what the community has to say about Dawn of War 4. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you are subscribed to Dawn of War Central. Big shout out, of course, to the YouTube channel members, as well as the Twitch subscribers. Thank you for the extra support. As always, take care, and see you next time.